Hello everyone, it's Daz, and this week I want to talk a little bit about a scenario that not too many think about if it took place, what the cause and effects of it would be. And I got the idea from Business Insider, and it's something that I thought was interesting because if you ever are on the road a lot, you notice semi-trucks everywhere, and although it can be a pain to let them into lanes, drive behind them or in front of them, and if you're like me, you don't want to be anywhere near their blind spot, I do admire the work that they do, and I realize that without trucks, that so much of our everyday resources and comfort would not be there. And I came across this article, and it really reminded me of something I'd been thinking about, and I see trucks as the modern ship, and it was posted on January 14th of 2019. Trucking moves 71% of the freight in the United States, and if it were suddenly to cease, the effects would be more drastic than you expect. In May of 2018, truck drivers in Brazil went on strike for a week, and it paralyzed the country in unexpected ways. As gas stations ran out of fuel, for instance, public transit halted. Without trucking, we would be naked, starving, and homeless, Mike Robbins, a longtime trucker and leader of trucker strike group Black Smoke Matters, told Business Insider. A study by the American Trucking Association outlined what would happen if truckers were to stop working. The effects would hit hospitals, gas stations, ATMs, grocery stores, and even your garbage can. And of course, your Amazon Prime packages would be delayed. Within the first day, basic medical supplies like syringes and catheters would be at risk of running out. Medication for cancer patients that use radiopharmaceuticals, which only have a lifespan of a few hours, would expire. During the 2018 strike in Brazil, a lack of medical supplies was a key choke point for the country. Government security forces escorted trucks without supplies to hospitals and doubled fines against striking truckers who were carrying medical cargo. Mail-in package delivery could stop if drivers in last mile as well as long-haul truck drivers were to stop working. Gas stations and grocery stores would start to run out of supplies. The ATA wrote that reports of a trucker work stoppage would stir up consumer panic, not unlike when hurricanes or other natural disasters lead to folks emptying grocery stores. News of truck stoppage, whether on the local level, state or regional level, or nationwide, will spur hoarding and drastic increase in consumer purchases of essential goods. According to the report, shortages will materialize quickly and could lead to civil unrest. Further up the supply chain, manufacturing delays would become rampant. Computer and auto manufacturers, for instance, build their goods as components are received throughout the day. Within just a few hours, a lack of truck deliveries of those components would incur significant disruption costs, and 1,000 of employees will be put off work within 2 to 3 days. In 1974, truck drivers went on strike in the U.S. for as long as 3 days in some areas. Around 100,000 truckers were laid off, and the National Guard was called in Ohio to deploy tear gas and forcibly remove trucks from blocking the highways. That strike also led to food shortages nationwide. The ATA said in its report that, with a strike as long as 3 days, essentials like bottled water, powdered milk, and canned foods would be gone. The consumer panic that developed during the first day of the strike would mushroom. ATMs would be cashless, gas stations would run out of fuel, and garbage would begin piling up in urban and suburban zones rather than going to a landfill. Uncollected and deteriorating waste products create rich breeding grounds for microorganisms, insects, and other vermin, the ATA wrote. Hazardous materials and medical waste will introduce toxins as well as infectious disease into living environments, and goods that are shipped over from Asia would stay in container ports on the West Coast. Within a week or more, an uncomfortable situation become dire. Should truckers stop working for more than a week? Without truckers transporting fuel, most people and businesses would run out of gas. Most forms of transportation would no longer function. Even airplanes would remain grounded, as trucks deliver 80% of the fuel used by the nation's airports. Without access to automobile travel, people will be unable to get to work, causing labor shortages and increased economic damage. The ATA wrote, without cars, many people cannot access grocery stores, banks, doctors, and other daily needs. Hospitals will begin to exhaust oxygen supplies by 7 to 10 days into the work stoppage. Most alarmingly, America's suppliers of clean drinking water would run dry in as little as 2 weeks, as the ATA wrote. On average, trucks deliver purification chemicals to water supply plants every 7 to 14 days. Without these chemicals, water cannot be purified and made safe for drinking. Without truck deliveries of purification chemicals, water supply plants will run out of drinkable water in 14 to 28 days. I just thought that it was a really eye-opening cause and effect chain, and why we should appreciate our truckers and trucks more, because without them, society would completely crash to a screeching halt. And I think about, and I know I talk about work a lot, working at a food bank. We have a humongous warehouse where we store food, and the truckers work from sometimes 2 or 3 a.m. to midday, taking these deliveries to places in rural Kansas or Missouri to make sure that different pantries or other areas get this food that they need so people can eat. And just how devastating that would be if that wasn't even the case where I work. So it would be even more difficult to imagine it on a national level. But that is just something I wanted to share with you guys. I know it's somber and it's not the happiest thing to share, but I just thought it was interesting, and everyone's talking about the government shutdown and the cause and effects of that. And I saw this article and thought about, wow, everyone thinks about the apocalypse and the end of days, and we think about massive things happening, but something as simple as a disruption in trucks could lead to that very easily. So let me know what you guys thought about this article. I hope you found it insightful, and I'd like to know your thoughts. Take care, and God bless.